How does a very busy mom, which pretty much covers all moms, figure out a way to get a little bit of prayer time in her day? Tonight we'll talk to a very busy mom who can show you just how to do that. So please stay with us. Thank you very much, and welcome. I'm Father Mitch, and welcome to EWTN Live, which is our chance to bring you guests from all over the world. And tonight we have a very special guest who has written a book to help moms out in working on their spiritual life. So please welcome to tonight's program, Donna-Marie Boyle Cooper. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, what part of the country do you hail from?
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very pretty state.
Yes.
What part?
Litchfield County.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know them by counties.
Right.
Is that in the center? Or?
The reason I don't say the town is because prisoners write to me too because of my work on EWTN.
Oh, I see.
And they're in for murder and everything, so
Yeah.
I have to kind of be careful.
Yeah, but so you're in a county.
I'm in Litchfield. I'm in Connecticut.
Well, one of the things that you do besides apparently use the witness identity program is that you have written quite a number of books.
Yes.
And one of your books is that just came out and I got a chance to read this past week was on how to help moms pray. Now, first of all, let's take a look at your bona fides here. You are a mom, I take it.
Yes.
And how many children do you have?
I have 5 on earth and 3 in heaven.
So you've been pretty busy.
Yes.
With raising children.
Absolutely.
And you know what it's like to be busy.
Absolutely.
and
I love every minute of it.
Yeah, sure.
At every age and stage, but it's a busy life. It's a busy, holy vocation.
Yeah. Well, one of the things certainly, I think of the great saints of like Teresa of Avila and Therese of Lisieux and St. Catherine. I think of them as having an opportunity to sit down and really relish the banquet
Yes.
of the spiritual life.
Right.
Whereas when I read your book, it said, this is for moms who have to grab some quick snack food that they can and eat when they can because it's hectic.
Right.
Would that be a fair impression of your book?
Absolutely, right. We have to seize the moment and carve out the time for prayer, but we're always on call 24/7 for our kids. You never know what's going to happen with one of the kids, so you devote your life to the care of the kids, and you have to pray to make your life a prayer, actually.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Now, you have an interesting organization. I showed your book to a busy mom and grandma that I know. And she said, I like it already.
Great.
Because it's short.
Yeah.
I mean, not the book, but what's there for each day is short.
Each day, yes.
Tell us about the way you organized each day's structure.
Sure. There are 4 elements to each day. The first one is ponder. So it could be a spiritual, something from Scripture. It could be something from Mulieris Dignitatem from Pope John Paul II. It could even be just from an author or a poet even. Mm-hmm. And so it's something to set the tone for the day. So you get that ponder and you read that. It's just very short.
Yeah, that's usually only 2 or 3 lines.
Yes,
right?
just 2 or 3 lines.
Right.
And then the next one is offer. So it's some ideas of how you can offer your life that day what you can even teach the children that day or introduce to them at the dinner table. So it gives the mom a couple of ideas, you know, how I could grow in virtue by just doing such and such, and maybe make sure you mention to the kids at the dinner table of St. Francis de Sales because today's his feast day or something like that. So it's a little offering. And the next one would be prayer. So it's a short prayer that I wrote, and sometimes I've incorporated traditional prayer, but always an act of faith, hope, or love, the three theological virtues, because the book really has that theme to it. We might go into that later, but it also is themed with the virtues. So
yeah, one of the things I noticed is that you go for a whole month, because this is for 365 days
Yes.
a year. So you're not going to try to sell this in leap year.
No, I even put one in for leap
Oh,
year.
good. All right. Just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking. Make sure you got leap year covered.
Yes, I do.
So you've got 365 days, or next one for leap year,
Right.
and it's by the date
Yes.
of the year. So it's January 1st through December 31st,
Yes.
and you've got these different, ponder sections, little quick snippet, and I was impressed with the small little sections you chose. They're short, pithy, and they give you something to really think about.
Something to sink your teeth into, but
Yeah.
just like a quick bite of something. It's just like
Right.
the spiritual vitamin for the day.
Right.
And then
right.
it ends the last
Now wait a minute. You
oh,
bite your vitamins?
Well,
I know what you mean. You mean something that's going to be really nourishing in a small little
right.
bit.
Something that you can just take in just in a short bit of time, to plunk down at that kitchen table in the morning. The kids might be around you, or you might have a couple of minutes by yourself, and I'm hoping they could use it in the morning, but whatever works for them is perfectly fine.
Sure.
And then the last element, because we just talked about those three,
Oh, yes.
would be savor. So it's kind of like, something you're going to savor that nourishment throughout the day. It would be this one line of, something as simple as, Jesus really loves me. Very simple, but to be thinking about that all day long. Or, I wish I had it here. I'd pick it up and give you a couple of examples, but just something simple to remember the theme of the day, and not that you have to feel regimented and you have to do something, but it's just hopefully to carry that theme throughout the day and to be able to grow in that virtue that we're talking about.
And one of the things that you do is you organize this so that for 1 month you focus on the virtue of faith.
Yes.
Then in February, you deal with the virtue of hope.
Yes.
And then in March, you deal with the virtue of love.
Right.
And then you start over again the next month. So you just
Right.
keep going every 3 months.
Keep alternating.
1 month on each of those theological virtues.
Yes.
Right? And those are absolutely central virtues.
Essential.
So this is you get to really think about and pray about faith for a month.
Right.
And then you get over to hope.
Right, because I think that those theological virtues that we're gifted with at our baptisms need to grow throughout our lives. And I think many times we just kind of forget about the fact that they're really living in our hearts, but they can be nourished, they can grow. God gives them to us, and He's the one who makes them grow, but we can kind of flex that muscle of faith, hope, or love, by a lot of the saints have told us to try to pray and to use the virtues and to grow the virtues.
And, this, again, I liked the image of, a quick, nourishing, tasty snack.
Yeah.
Rather than having...
A heavy meal or something.
Yeah, that again, a lot of moms just can't say, all you kids stop crying,
Right.
stop asking for food, stop wetting diapers for 1 hour so I can meditate.
Right.
That doesn't happen, does it?
And I often preach that, and I often speak about that in my books and talks, that a mother lives two kinds of prayer, the active prayer and the contemplative prayer. When we do have that time to be on our knees and to pray and offer our hearts to God, that is so amazing and wonderful, and of course we make it to Mass for obligations, But then, you know, you're on your knees and you're praying, and in runs a child that needs you immediately. Just like you said, you're not going to say, honey, you're going to have to wait. No matter what happened, mommy has to finish her prayers. That's not what God wants us to do. God puts us in that heart of the home of our domestic church to care for the needs of everyone. See, we give, we serve, just like we're all called to do. But if we're going to say, no, I really need to develop my prayer life like this, how are we helping our family, and how are we really growing in virtue if we're going to just ignore the people who need us, because God's counting on us to take care of them?
Yeah, and so this is a way, you know, maybe a few minutes before the kids get up, while the coffee's brewing and you're just getting ready. This is, you know, something that you can do very quickly, and that's a positive thing. Have you given this kind of prayer style to other women to try out?
Oh yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I have, and they really appreciate that very much. The ones who have read it already, who I've given it to already in advance, absolutely love it, because it's just the right amount for them to get their prayer kick-started that day, you know, and then to constantly lift your heart throughout the day. Try to make the time, schedule that time, because if we don't schedule that time with our Creator, it might not happen. You got to put it right on your to-do list. Right. But then again, if a child interrupts that prayer, that interruption really is an opportunity for grace, you know, to take care of that child and then, you know, continue the prayer, that next decade of the rosary. I'm sure our Blessed Mother doesn't mind that Mother's rosaries are broken up into pieces because we're busy taking care of the needs of the children.
Sure. And, you know, one of the questions I did have is, as I was reading through it, how did you choose the little ponder section, those short sections?
Right.
Now, because you have it from a variety of areas. There's scripture, quotes from various saints, and quotes from the writings of, like you said, about the dignity of women by Pope John Paul, and other things. How did you choose that of all the, you know, to get 366 little quotes out of all the millions of books that exist? What guided you?
Well, every time I write a book, I seriously pray a lot throughout the writing, and as I'm sure you do with your books. So I pray and I ponder, and I really feel our Lord, you know, helps me and gives me what I need to write. And I thought about the liturgical year as well, you know, or the month of Mary in May. So I wanted to put Marian quotes in there, or, you know, as we're in the Advent season, I wanted to put things in there. So I would just pray, and then I would find these wonderful quotes, either from books I own or from, you know, the internet, or going through apostolic letters and things like that. So I tried to do things liturgically, according to saints' days and things like that. And yes, and it was fun. It was fun to pull it all together. And out of all of the books I've written, and there have been many, this one really took the longest, because when you figure it's a year-long book, actually, you know.
Well, you know, that's one of the things about prayer. If you had written it too quickly, it wouldn't have resonance with other people's experience. I mean, that takes time to really reflect. And then to draw, see, that's the other thing. You know, when you draw your conclusions about what does this little thing I pondered, what does that mean in my life?
Right.
In terms of how I act, my personal needs and virtues, as well as those of my husband and children.
Right.
You know, so that's another thing. I'm sure that took time.
Oh, yes. And then I wove in the next section, lots of little stories about my kids growing up to make it interesting to the mom with the little kids. And so all different facets of their lives and other people's children's lives, and just to make it interesting, lots of interesting stories that the mom can relate to.
Sure. Now, one of the things that you're also doing, in addition to writing this book, is that you are doing a little series with us.
Yes.
You've been filming it this week.
Right.
what are you doing in that series?
Okay, well, it's a 5-part mini-series so far, and it's called Catholic Moms Cafe, just like the book. Mm-hmm. And so I'm talking with a guest on each show, different facets of mothering, and I try to choose 5 very relevant topics to begin with that moms can relate to, anywhere from kids in the culture. Do you want me to explain each
Sure.
topic?
Yeah.
Well, one is called Kids and the Culture, and it's about protecting our kids from abusing technology, unsupervised technology, or having a cell phone at too young of an age, or texting and driving. And also in that episode, it's talking about the importance of establishing the parameters and the guidelines for all of these things, but to create an atmosphere of prayer in the home. So I'm talking about getting that prayer started from a very young age, and making the time to gather around the dinner table, to break bread together, to nourish our heart, not only our stomachs, but our hearts and our souls, and to really bring that back and to reclaim that family dinner, because the world is, calling the families outside of the home and getting involved in all kinds of activities. And the parents, sometimes feel they don't have any control, but parents really need to cut back a little, pull them back in, and have more slow food and less fast food when it comes to dinner time, not be running around and doing all of these things. We do want them to be well-rounded, yes, but we don't want to have the world, telling us how to raise our kids and when you can have your dinner and when you can't. So, that was part of that show. We talked about a sad topic about losing your child in miscarriage, losing the babies in miscarriage. It's an often misunderstood situation because people don't really know how to react to a mom who lost her baby, and sometimes the mom doesn't know how to grieve, or if it's okay to grieve, or if she can be angry, so we go through all of that, because I have had 3 miscarriages and my guest had 5 miscarriages. And
That's
so
very difficult.
it's very difficult because it's a living, unique, unrepeatable child of God, and some people think, oh, don't worry, you'll have another baby. They mean well, but they're not realizing that mom is grieving that baby that she just lost. So I think it's important to talk about that and to offer them hope and healing. So we have a good portion of that show about how we could honor that baby with a memorial or a funeral, mass, or even a burial in some cases. So there's a lot to that segment as well. We talked to...
One of the things too on that, I think, that's the sense that's what people miss is that there is already a relationship between the mother and the child, because it's interior. For everybody else, it is sort of out there.
You're right.
But for moms, it's not out there. It's in here.
Absolutely.
And so that component of the loss during miscarriage is not grasped by many people on the outside.
Exactly.
But moms who've gone through it have an understanding, and all of us need to...
Because she's grown with that baby from day one. And I even quoted Pope John Paul II on that show about what he said about how that mom already has formed that bond with that baby.
Yes.
So thank you for bringing that up, because that is an important part of it.
Yeah, that certainly is.
Yeah.
And what are some of the other issues you want to take?
Some of the other shows that I taped the last couple of days. One other one was called The Skinny on Catholic Fashion. And it's discussing the difficulties in finding proper and suitable, modest clothing for women and for our daughters these days. And also that crazy expectation of us to be perfect, to be a size 0. What is a size 0? I mean, that's crazy. I laughed when I first heard about that. But the culture dictates to women, the #1 consumer. She's got to have this kind of face cream to be perfect. She's got to have these kind of clothes. She has to be so, a size 0. So we talk about those kinds of challenges, and also, dressing modestly, and how we can make little increments to our wardrobes to change something up a little bit, you know.
You know, one of the things that strikes me from what you said before, that the culture is certainly calling families to be hyperactive.
Yes.
And not take time
Right.
to be family.
Exactly.
And run around. And then, of course, if you don't have time to be family, you eat a lot of pizza,
Right.
fast food, burgers, things like that,
Yeah.
a lot of fried things. And so then, if you do that part of what the culture says, it's impossible to be size 0
Exactly.
on a pizza and fast food
I
diet.
know. And so
You know,
then
too many carbs.
And so then what happens is that vicious cycle of being depressed and, like, you know, feeling like a failure. I haven't, you know, I'm not perfect. I don't look the way they, you know, I'm expected to look, and things of that nature. It's crazy. And the women, unfortunately, striving for this crazy level of perfection, often find themselves on the therapist's couch wondering why they're not happy and not perfect, because they're not listening to their heart or to what God is asking them as a woman with, you know, the dignity that He gives them. And see, it's confusing. We're not blaming the women for falling for it, because the culture is pretty darn clever, and the advertising industry and the glossy magazines and the airbrushed models are pretty darn clever at, you know, convincing the women to buy all these products to make them be a certain way. And instead, you know, they need to take that time, to carve out that time, to pick up Catholic Mom's Cafe and read that little verse and that prayer, and realize your God-given dignity, that sometimes we need to unearth it because we forget about that God gave it to us, you know.
Many years ago, it must be about 40 years ago, I met a man who discussed his line of work, which was to be a lithographer. I don't even know if they do lithography anymore, but he was, you know, very highly trained in making these ways of printing pictures. And he mentioned to me, with a certain amount of embarrassment, that he did the lithography for certain magazines that displayed ladies more than their fathers would want them displayed.
Oh.
And so he said, don't you think at all that those ladies look like that?
Right.
I make them look like that. Not I, but his lithographer.
Right.
He's the one who is in charge of widening some parts and narrowing others.
Yes.
And he said that it's just not real people.
Right. So it's an impossible level of perfection that women are striving for, and they're driving themselves crazy trying to do this.
And the other side of it, you know, in his case, it was making a certain physical perfection, not so that these women could have a relationship with the men, but so that an even greater number of men could exploit them with complete anonymity.
Exactly.
You know, so that there's no relational value here, just money making for a short time. And, you know, this schizophrenia, as you said, in the culture, is, you know, pulls people apart.
Right.
And it's not listening well to themselves or to God.
And that's why we're trying to do things like this show and books and things that are going to help encourage women, affirm them in their God-given dignity, and help them to realize, you know, they shouldn't be following what the culture is dictating to them to be and to do, but to listen to their hearts and to what God is calling them to. That beautiful feminine genius, that beautiful feminine woman.
And I remember once observing a conversation of a Muslim man with a group of women. And he posed the question to them, do you want to be remembered as sexy or as beautiful?
Oh.
And I thought, well, that's a very interesting way to place it.
Yeah.
And they hadn't thought of it. They just accepted some of the cultural expectations. But then to say, no, I want to be beautiful.
Right. Good.
And other people to see me as beautiful. And that's when he introduced modesty to them in that way.
That's great.
And the call to beauty rather than something superficial.
Right. That's great.
Yeah. So, and what other topics?
What are some of the other topics? Okay. Well, let me just think. We did the kids in the culture, the fashion, the miscarriage, and I'm probably going to draw a blank right now.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay. So, and then one is called upholding dignity through contradiction, and that just means, being that dignified woman that God made through all of these contradictions, like we were just talking about. That kind of overlapped into this subject too, this topic, but so much more so in this topic of all of the things that the world expects being a woman, and how does she sift through all of that to figure out so we give the Catholic tools to figure out how to sift through it. How does she find a healthy balance? How does she focus on the kids and their faith formation? So there's a lot covered in that one as well, upholding our dignity.
So you're dealing with this wide variety of issues. Is this going to be 5-minute segments?
Oh no, these are half-hour shows.
The reason I ask,
because
your book is something you can do in a few minutes. Now you're going to be having a show that takes, the kids are going to have to be gone and out of the house to school before mom can watch the show.
Well, she could TiVo it maybe, or tape it, or get it through the EWTN religious catalog, and then after a while EWTN puts it on YouTube, so she can watch it when she.
I know my mother used to watch some programs while she was ironing until we were old enough to learn how to iron. Then she could do other stuff. But it's but this is all oriented towards that moms doing ministry to moms.
Yes.
That seems to be your focus.
Right, exactly. So that's why I chose 5 guests to start with that I can speak with, and we have a nice conversation on the set. The set is beautiful. It's set in the heart of the home, in the kitchen, because I wanted it to be homey and to seem like this woman came to visit me, and we're going to just sit down and talk about the situation. And
do you make coffee?
Tea. We have a teapot on the table, and we've got a couple, because I'm a tea drinker, so I'm partial to tea. And and then we just chat about the situation at hand, and I'm praying and hoping that the viewership will take away from that and see that they're not alone in this at all, that other women.
Other women are doing this and working on it well.
Absolutely.
Well, we need to take a little break, but we're going to come back in a couple of minutes. We'd like to get any questions you might have, as well as the questions that we might have from our studio audience. So please stay with us. Thank you very much. Now, I just want to let you know that Donna-Marie's books are available at our religious catalog. And you can get a hold of religious catalog. You can see a picture of the different books that she's got. And you can get a hold of them and take a look at all the different titles. by going to our website, www.ewtnreligiouscatalog.com. Or you can also call 1-800-854-6716. Is that right? 6716. Yeah, they're changing it on me. All right. So, no, 6316. Wait, they did change it. They gave me the wrong number. Boy, I'm just trying to read. And let me give it to you again. 1-800-854-6316. And they'll let you know what books you have, and we'll ask you a couple of those titles. We also want to let you know that we've got a lot of people who are here visiting us, and we'd love to have you come and visit us too. So if you can make a pilgrimage over here, please contact our pilgrimage department, and that is at 205-271-2966. Now I know that number by heart.
Okay, good.
So 205-271-2966. Or you can also go to the other website, www.ewtn.com, and our pilgrimage department will help you with a number of issues: schedules for masses, schedules for various programs, tours of the network. They'll give you all kinds of information about where you can stay, some of the good places to eat. You can get tea or coffee, iced tea, and here you get sweet tea or unsweet tea. I got it all ready for you. So come on down and join us and be part of our studio audience. Are you ready for some questions?
Sure.
Let's start off with Carolyn. Hello, Carolyn.
Hello, Father.
Hi, where are you from?
I'm from Norco, Louisiana, and it's just a few miles from where Father Mark Mary was raised. And lived.
Did you have anything to do with raising Father Mark Mary?
No, I didn't, but I had fun being with him at family outings and such.
Oh, good.
And he's my sister-in-law's first cousin.
See, they're all branch kin over there of some kind. So what's your question, Carolyn?
I go to Mass every morning. I pray the rosary, and I am a widow, and I was able to do everything in my home, like the work and to keep up the paperwork, the bills and all that, and I'm having trouble doing that now. I need some advice. How do I start over so I can accomplish more?
All right. So first of all, let me ask you this, Carolyn. What do you want to accomplish?
I want to be able to do my housework and be able to have time to pray and take care of my son. He's disabled.
Okay. All right. So you've got 3 tasks. Take care of a disabled son, take care of your housework, and yet make sure you get some prayer in there. What would you suggest?
Okay. Well, I think the most important prayer is first thing in the morning offering. Even if you have 30 seconds or 60 seconds to get on your knees right by the side of your bed and give all of your prayers, works, joys, and sufferings to God right as soon as you open your eyes to a new day. And that way, your whole day is enfolded in prayer. It is enveloped in prayer, and you're giving God everything. So when you're helping your son and when you're doing the work that you're trying to do, you've offered it to God as a prayer.
That's right.
Of course, you want to try to offer your heart all day long, and Jesus, I love you. Jesus, please help me. Blessed Mother Mary, be by my side. All of the angels and saints, please pray for me. Little aspirations throughout the day when you can't get out to Mass or when you can't do longer prayers, but to keep your heart always lifted in conversation with the divine. So actually what you want to do is you want to make your life a prayer. And so then you can fit in those things that you need to do. God wants you to take care of your son and all of your duties. He doesn't want you to neglect anyone, to say, I have to kneel down to pray right now. Of course, you want to make your Sunday obligations and try to get to Mass when you can in addition to that. But I would recommend that you just offer your day first thing and give it to the Lord, and then trust Him with it. Trust Him that He hears your prayers and that you are doing what He is calling you to do.
I always, before I go down to turn on the coffee, I start off with the morning offering.
Me
so
too.
The day is an offering.
That's right.
And even getting the coffee ready. But, and everything else throughout the day. But one of the things too I would recommend to Carolyn, I don't know what kind of disability your son has, but might there be times where, depending on what's going on with him, you might not want to pray with him and include him, so that your care for him becomes part of your prayer time as well.
Right.
And again, I don't know what time, if he gets up before you do or not, but there are also opportunities, again, depending on the disability. Maybe you can take some time and just let him know, honey, I'm going to go do this prayer now, and then we'll take care of breakfast and all the rest.
Yeah.
So depending on your situation, what you may want to do is get a friend over and sort of go through the tasks you have of the day and put them into small chunks.
Yes.
That helps.
Right.
If you put it into, chunk it down.
So you're not overwhelmed with
Yes.
the whole thing.
I got all this stuff. But
Yeah.
if you put it into small bite-sized
Yeah,
chunks,
exactly.
you don't shove a steak down your mouth. You
Right.
cut it up.
And don't be so hard on yourself if you can't get everything done, as long as you're taking care of the people, the
Right.
people in your life.
Right. We have a question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
Louisville, Kentucky area.
Good to have you here. It's a pretty town up there. And what's your question?
I'm. It's kind of long and involved, but I have 9 closely spaced children who are very young, and I'm delighted to have them. And I'd have more.
How
if
old
I
is
could-
your oldest?
8.
Wait a minute. Do you have twins?
I have kind of 3 sets of twins.
3 sets of.
of.
Do you have kind of?
One's adopted.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right.
The other's-
So you have one adopted.
Yeah.
8 of 8 that are yours.
Yes.
And at least 2 sets of twins.
Yes.
Well, you know how to hit the jackpot.
Yeah, we're
You
delighted.
send her over to Las Vegas. No, don't go to Las Vegas.
No.
Anyway, but,
and they're wonderful, and we'd have more, but it's very hard at times. I mean, we have to pray or else it's ugly. But in years
What do you
past,
mean it's ugly?
well, you get cranky and lose temper, and or it's just chaos with everybody. So I find praying together is really adds to family peace. But years ago, you'd have relatives nearby or grandmas who had 9 kids and knew what it was like. And now it's we're very alone, my husband and I, with it. And so I don't know if you have any ideas about, I guess, mentoring or how, for your program or how you come
so
across.
how do you get someone to help you with
Yeah.
your prayer life?
Or just with the kids, so you have time to go pray, or time to have a little break, because it's constant. It's night and day, and it's just a break to have some time to pray. Because
Okay.
sometimes you need a little more than just, you can't, like if you're homeschooling, you can't just send them off school and then have an hour to yourself,
Right.
whatever it is. But yeah.
Right, that's
So I have to look at Father Mitch to talk. I think it's real important to ask for help. It's hard to ask for help, but I think we moms need to, if you don't have a relative around, you might have a good friend that has children too that maybe can help, or maybe some of the children could get involved with a few other children and maybe some of your other children. So make a goal of maybe weekly. Maybe you can sneak away for an hour of adoration and just do what you can to make that happen. And if it doesn't happen, don't be frustrated, try again. So try to make that time by enlisting help from others, loved ones who will take care of your children the way that you would. Your husband could help as well, or a close relative, and just make it a priority to have that special time to nourish your own self. And if it can't happen right now for some reason in your life, then maybe in the middle of the night or early in the morning, maybe you could, as if you were going off to church for an hour of adoration, you'd set your clock for 5 in the morning. I know we moms need our sleep so much when we have little kids.
Yeah.
But if you can make some time when you know the kids are going to be napping or sleeping, to try to make it happen. But I think the ideal situation would be to get someone to help you so that you can have that important time to develop your prayer. But God knows your heart. God knows that your life is a prayer with those little ones. Try not to be frustrated that you can't really take the time that you think you have to have, but to give everything to Him first thing in the morning and say, Lord, my life to you is a prayer. When I'm changing this diaper, when I'm hugging this child, when I'm correcting this one, I give that to you, Lord. I love you. Thank you for the beauty and the blessing of this family.
Yeah. And it certainly is an extra difficult, and this is a common difficulty.
Yes.
When you don't have extended family.
Yes.
There were times when, to a little bit of relief, I would go spend a weekend with my grandparents.
Right.
And give my parents a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
And there are other things that, going to spend the night at a friend's house,
Mm-hmm.
used to do that. And, so that, and that was one way for moms, when you don't have relatives,
Right.
other moms in the neighborhood can
Yes.
sort of take
Yes.
over and just do a little bit so you get that
Mm-hmm.
few minutes break. But it might be good to have a powwow, which the moms in my neighborhood used to do.
Right.
They'd get together and
Yeah.
have coffee and cake, chase us out the house, and then, pretty much, do their planning so they could deal with us.
Right.
And, they would just say, all right, this mom, Mrs. Pavin, was tired of us.
Yeah.
So go over to Sika's.
Yeah.
Then Mrs. Sika would be tired of us. Go back to Pacwas, and you do this circle, just to keep out of, so that somebody could get stuff done. And talk to other moms.
Right.
Because again, 9 kids, 8 and under. That's incessant.
Yeah.
It's incessant.
Well, there's also the parish family. So if you're close to people in the parish, maybe there's a couple of different friends that somebody could take 4 of them, somebody could take 4 of them.
Right.
So our parish family sometimes makes up for the relatives that we don't have right nearby.
Sure, like these moms morning out, where they, some churches will just have something where moms can bring the kids
Right.
and they've got something structured.
Yeah.
And they have play and all that. And then, and again, if it's not there,
Right.
don't complain to the priest.
Right.
Organize it with other moms.
Exactly. Sometimes you just have to take the initiative and just organize it yourself.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah. We have another question from our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
Yes, I'm from Seneca Falls, New York. It's in the
to have
Finger
you.
Lakes.
And your question?
My question pertains to someone at my place of business approached me and asked me if I might be potentially in the future a godparent to a child she may have.
Oh, okay.
Now, this person in the past has lived with someone without the benefit of marriage and is doing that again with someone else. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering what the church's stance on that particular issue would be.
Look at Pope Francis, what he just did recently, right? You probably can explain it better than I. A child is a child, and a child deserves baptism. So if a child deserves baptism, a child deserves godparents. So we might not be able to be judgmental of the fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, Father, of the fact that the parents, or maybe there isn't a husband, or whatever that way that woman is living her life, there's still a child that deserves a baptism. And then we have to pray, right, that the child is raised in the faith too, as long as we know the child's going to be raised in the faith too, right?
Yeah. And one of the things I would also do, I'm getting older, and so I become more direct in my old age.
Good.
And one of the things that I would ask the mother, exactly what do you expect from a relationship with a man who's willing to give you a baby that you will have a relationship with for the rest of your life, but he is not willing to make a relationship with you for the rest of his life. Why do you think this is good sense?
Right.
You know, if the guy doesn't want to be responsible for a child he helps bring into the world, what do you find you're going to get out of your relationship with him? What's in store for you and for this child? Because again, we have to lament the fact 41% of all children born in this culture are now born to unwed mothers.
Well, may I just say one quick thing? I forgot to mention.
75% of whom are poor.
Right. Well, just want to real quickly mention that one of the shows I did today, which I forgot to say earlier, is on single motherhood. And it's talking about the moms who might be unwed, they might be divorced, they might be widowed, or might even be a grandmother mothering the child. But you know, the many reasons for single motherhood, how to deal with it, how to cope with it.
Yeah, but also in this case, she still has a chance to deal with the relationship with the man.
Yes.
And if you take on this role as a godparent, don't let it just be something that's honorary, but really involved in trying to say, help this lady and the father of her child think about their responsibilities toward each other and toward the child.
Exactly.
You know, he may not be worthy of being married to either, I don't know. But, you know, these things have to be thought through, and you want to help a young mom do that and use the position offered there to see if, because again, you're right, the child didn't do anything wrong. And the child, she wants the child baptized and be part of Christ, all right. But then use that as an opportunity to call her and the father of the child to be something more.
Exactly.
And that's a great opportunity.
It's a beautiful opportunity.
Hello, we have Andres on the line. Hello, Andres.
How you doing, Father?
Hi, where are you from?
I'm from your show in New York.
Great, good to have you on. And what's your question?
Yeah, my question is, my question is that I was listening to your lady that was speaking about how the families have to eat together and have to stay together. We live in a world that technology and TV controls us. And we listen to everything they tell us. And I think when Christ was on earth, he made us he was very simple. He was a humble person. He wasn't really had any fancy clothes or anything. If we learned to do that, the world would be a better place.
Oh, you want to make a comment on that? I agree with you, Andres.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. It would keep it simple, right? And Jesus made a big deal about supper, didn't he? So, you know, it's an important part of growing up in a family to make sure we're not so, and don't bring your devices to the dinner table. Don't let the kids bring their phones and gadgets and things like that. You need to have a time when you're not connected to all that technology and you can really converse and be together and grow together as a family.
Yeah, I certainly remember we didn't have cell phones.
Yeah.
Nobody did.
I know, we didn't either.
Boy.
I didn't either.
We still had to dial the phone.
Yeah, we did too.
And one of the things that still, even with fewer gadgets, there was no watching TV during dinner.
No.
You know, you listen to mom and dad.
Right. And now they're sitting in front of the computer or the TV. Sadly, one time someone came to my house, a young teen with her mother, and she saw me set the table and for the lunch we were going to have, and she said, "Do you always set the table like that for lunch?" And I found out that she never sat down with her family together. So I prayed for her, and I just hope that my example of having a lunch or a dinner together might make an impression on the family.
Sure, well, it does. We have another caller. Hello, John? John, are you there?
I am.
Oh, there. It's John from Ohio. I know that voice. And what is your question, John?
I wondered what Donna-Marie, some of her favorite saints were, and what does she like about them?
Oh, well, how long do we have left?
About 5 minutes.
No, I'm just kidding about that, but.
I'm not.
Okay. Okay, thank you for asking. Well, I'm very partial to Blessed Mother Teresa. She's not canonized a saint yet, but she's a blessed. I knew her for almost 10 years, so I'm very close to her. And I weave a lot of everything I learned from her within my talks and my writings. I love Pope John Paul II. He's a blessed, but I know he's going to be canonized. He's a hero to me as well.
Right.
I love so many of the saints. Of course, the greatest saint, Blessed Mother. You know, I love Saint Padre Pio. I love Saint Francis.
But he's not just asking you to go through the litany of the saints
that's
here.
what he asked
He
me, who I
wants
liked.
you to know, why do you
Okay.
like these people?
Okay.
What is so attractive?
Well, I already explained why I like Mother Teresa.
Right.
Saint Monica, of course, because she mothered Saint Augustine, and her tears and her prayers brought about his conversion. And not only was he converted, he became a doctor of the church. So I like to use her as a model for mothers to pray to Saint Monica when you're at your wit's end and the kids are going astray, and not to know that your prayers and your tears God is going to hear them the same as he heard Saint Monica.
And again, what she saw is that her husband, who cheated on her until practically the end of his life, when he finally became a Catholic,
Right.
her son joined a cult,
Right.
and shacked up with the girl
15.
and had her only grandson
Right.
out of wedlock. I mean, she went through problems that many modern moms would recognize.
Exactly. I love Saint Therese for her simplicity and doing, little things with great love, which Blessed Mother Teresa picked up on that from Saint Therese, because she loved her as well. That's what our life is as a mother, doing little things with great love, not to expect to run off to the other side of the world to get our message to the ends of the earth, because sometimes it's going to be just to the ends of the household. And we're raising those little saints to heaven in the tiny little details in between the pots and pans and the diaper changes is where we work out our salvation.
And there's certain moments for parents that getting a kid to have food go from the bowl into a spoon and into the mouth
without
and not flying around, those are achievement days.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I say motherhood is a miraculous vocation. Sometimes the miracle is just making it through the day.
Yes, it is. Now, as a matter of fact, one of your books, sort of, only one of the books I saw, lists a group of saints, little short stories about saints.
Yeah.
What's the title of that book?
It's called Catholic Saints Prayer Book with
Okay.
Our Sunday Visitor. There are 32 saints in that book.
Right.
Yeah.
And you go through some of their lives and what they accomplished, and just give a short introduction.
Little bio, a prayer, and what they're a patron of. Yeah.
One of the things I liked about John's question too is we live at a time when a style of movie arose back in the late 60s of the anti-hero. Someone who is a scoundrel, but he's the hero of the movie. And sometimes it's females as well. Certainly the variety of spaghetti westerns that were done were the start of that, and many others, that this scoundrel of a character still acts heroically and then proudly goes off remaining a scoundrel, whereas the saints oftentimes start off as scoundrels, but they become heroes and virtuous.
Yes.
And we need that kind of call to heroism and virtue, in the world today.
And the mothers are the heroes, according to Pope John Paul II. He talked about them using the heroic virtues. And I think we can learn so much from the saints.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being
Thank
with us.
you.
Again, you can go to www.donnacooperoboyle.com and find out more. And I want to give you a blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And, we can have not only Donna on this show, but also doing this series called Mom's Cafe, because this network is brought to you by you. You make it possible for us to do that. And so we really do appreciate it that you do keep us in between your gas bill, your electric bill, and your cable bill, because that allows us to pay all of our production bills and the rest that we have to do. God bless you all, and thank you.